In the middle of the 14th century, Europe was crowded, busy, and unaware. Streets were narrow. Houses leaned close to one another. Markets were loud. People lived their daily lives with the ordinary worries of work, food, and winter. But in the distance, something was already moving. Not like an army, not like a storm you could see on the horizon. It moved quietly, through ships, through ports, through small details no one paid attention to. Most people did not understand disease the way we do today. They didn't know about bacteria or fleas or invisible transmission. They knew only patterns, a fever that arrived suddenly, a weakness that grew fast, and death that followed soon after. At first, the rumors felt far away. A strange sickness in another region. A port city closing its gates. A ship arriving with fewer sailors than it should. And then the rumors became reality. In some towns, the first signs were subtle, a cough, a headache, an exhaustion that felt heavier than ordinary illness. In others, it arrived like a sudden collapse. One person fell sick, then another, then a household, then an entire street. The city kept breathing, still trying to function. Bread was baked. Bells rang. Animals moved through alleys. But the air began to change. The fear came before the full disaster did. And when the Black Death truly entered a city, it did not knock politely. It arrived like silence replacing noise, one home at a time. Many historians trace the disaster through trade routes. Ships carried spices, silk, and grain, but also carried rats and fleas, hidden in the shadows below deck. In port cities, the sea was life. It brought wealth and news, and it connected people to distant worlds. But it also brought risk. When a ship arrived and sailors looked pale, weak, and confused, people did not immediately understand what they were seeing. Some ships arrived with bodies already on board. Some arrived with crews too sick to unload cargo. And still, business continued, because hunger and money do not wait for safety. A city would hear the news late. By the time officials tried to react, the sickness was already inside. The market had already touched it. The docks had already handled it. The homes near the water had already begun to cough. There are stories of ports closing their gates, of ships being isolated, of people praying that the sea would carry the problem away again. But the sea had already delivered it. And soon, inland towns, far from the water, began to feel it too. Trade carts rolled forward. Travelers moved between villages. A single infected flea could travel farther than any person expected. The Black Death did not need speed. It only needed movement. And Europe was full of movement. The most terrifying part was how fast it worked. Fever could rise quickly. The body could become weak in a single day. Some victims developed painful swellings, large, dark lumps that appeared near the neck, armpits, or groin. These swellings were later called buboes, and they became one of the most remembered signs of the plague. People described skin turning dark, breath becoming short, and strength disappearing like water spilling out of a cracked vessel. Some died within days. Some died within hours. Families watched loved ones fade so quickly that grief didn't even have time to form properly. It was shock first, then loss. And the worst part was that nobody fully understood how to protect themselves. Some believed the air itself was poisoned. Others blamed strangers, travelers, or the poor. Some thought it was a punishment from heaven. Many simply panicked, because fear grows faster than knowledge. Cities tried to stay alive. People still needed bread. Still needed water. Still needed work. But when death becomes common, life becomes strange. And slowly, the plague changed not only bodies, but minds. In some places, doctors attempted treatments that now feel cruel or meaningless. Bloodletting, herbs, incense, strange mixtures, and burning fires in the streets to cleanse the air. The famous plague doctor mask, with its long beak, is often associated with the plague, even though many of those images come later. Still, the idea is true. People searched for protection in clothing, in smells, in barriers between themselves and fear. The smell of the cities became part of the nightmare. Bodies. Smoke. Human suffering. And yet, people kept trying. Because doing something, anything, felt better than waiting. Some doctors wrote notes. Some priests prayed. Some officials ordered quarantines. But the plague did not care about rules. It moved through homes, through families, through the smallest cracks in society. When death becomes frequent, the city changes sound. At first, bells ring for a few funerals. Then they ring more often. Then they ring so much that they become part of the background, like wind or rain. Some streets became quiet because people stopped walking outside. Doors stayed shut. Windows stayed dark. In some towns, carts moved through the streets collecting bodies. In others, families buried their own dead as quickly as possible, because the fear of infection was stronger than tradition. Graveyards filled. New burial grounds were created. And the living began to feel like shadows, moving from day to day without certainty that tomorrow would come. The Black Death did not only kill individuals. It shattered the feeling of safety that holds a society together. When people are terrified, they look for reasons. And when real reasons are invisible, they create enemies. Rumors spread. Accusations formed. Certain groups were blamed unfairly, attacked, and punished. In many places, fear turned into cruelty. It was not the plague alone that destroyed communities. It was also what the plague awakened in people: panic, anger, and desperate thinking. In the middle of disaster, the human mind wants control. And blame feels like control. But it did not stop the sickness. It only added more suffering. Many turned to religion more deeply. People prayed harder. Churches filled. Processions walked through streets. Some believed that showing devotion would bring protection. Others believed that devotion was all they had left. Candles burned. Hymns rose. And still, the plague continued. In some places, groups marched from town to town, seeking forgiveness through ritual and pain. Whether these actions helped or harmed depended on the place, but the need behind them was the same. People wanted meaning. They wanted a story bigger than fear. As the plague spread, work collapsed. Farms were left unattended. Workshops became silent. When many workers died, the economy changed. Labor became rare. Some survivors demanded higher wages. Some governments tried to control wages. The social order, once stable, began to shift. It was one of the strange effects of disaster. Death reshaped society. Even after the worst months passed, nothing returned exactly to what it was before. After the plague, death appeared everywhere in art. Skeletons danced with kings and peasants alike, reminding everyone that no rank could protect them. This style became known as the danse macabre, the dance of death. It was dark, but it was also honest. In a world that had been changed by plague, pretending death was distant no longer made sense. So people drew it. Painted it. Carved it into memory. Eventually, in many places, the plague weakened. It did not vanish completely, but the intense wave passed. Survivors stepped outside into streets that felt unfamiliar. Some homes were empty. Some names were never spoken again. The world continued, but with scars. And even though centuries have passed, the Black Death still feels like a warning from history. That life can change quickly. That safety can be fragile. And that human beings, even in fear, will continue trying to survive.